Hello. I'm hoping you can see and hear me because we're having some serious technical difficulties. We did test this, but here we are. I'm Peter Szabo, the writer-director of the film you're about to see, Leroy Silk Unmuted. I'm going to bring Al Bradley on right away just to make sure. He's my co-producer. He was the genius behind the music. Good friend, just been around on this whole journey. So, how are we doing, Al? Do you think people can see and hear us? Some people at least.
I think a selective audience can make the link work.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Facebook is putting up some kind of a wall for others. So I can't explain it, and unfortunately, it means that for some people, we'll just have to give you the replay after the fact.
Right. Okay. That's technology. Let's move forward because those of us that are here and able to see it, yeah, we're pretty excited for this. This is, well, for me, it's been since the first version of the script or the outline was 2009. So it's been many years in the making, gone through many iterations, through lots of inspiration. Actually, in some ways, Al, I have you to thank for the inspiration because Al is a singer-songwriter and a musician, and he introduced me to a lot of independent Canadian singer-songwriters. So in the early 2000s, when I first got to know Al and played music together, I got to hear all these amazing independent singer-songwriters like Danny Michel and Luke Doucet and Andy Suchansky and Chantal Kreviazuk, who was a little bigger at the time, but I just was exploring and discovering and thinking, why aren't these people like rocketing to fame all across the planet? Because they write and play as well or better than the hit makers. And so that just stuck in my craw, that why are these people not getting heard? And what's it like to be that singer-songwriter who's producing really good stuff and loves their craft and isn't like quite getting the same fame? Is that important to them, or is that not? Is money important, or is just the craft and the delivery of great music enough? All these questions produced Leroy Silk, a fictional musician, singer-songwriter who was in his 40s or whatever and had had some degree of success and then kind of got frustrated and left it behind. And it went through a full feature-length film version of him going on tour again after years with the greatest hits and love triangles. And that I couldn't find a way to get the money for that, and other projects came up. So then I looked at making a documentary about all these singer-songwriters and a bunch of others from across Canada. I couldn't get any support for that. Then Star is Born came out, and it was like, oh, look at that. Somebody's kind of might be stealing my fire there. And then the pandemic hit. And I thought, okay, I'm really having some difficulties trying to figure this out. And I thought, but I got to get this out of my system. And I'd been talking to you, Al, for years about collaborating on the music. Originally, I was going to use, the actual singer-songwriter music. And then it was like, wait a minute, let's do it original so that we can avoid copyright problems and whatnot and extra fees. And anyways, that's all to say, oh, you're muted there.
And so that we can put some new music out into the world.
Exactly, yeah. But the pandemic, in a way, it was just like, okay, let's re-envision this for a singer-songwriter who has to perform online. That's all he's comfortable with. We don't mention the pandemic. So we reimagined it, and because of safety concerns, and all the cast and the crew. Nobody had to leave the comfort of their home for making this movie. So when you're watching it, keep that in mind, that all the actors had a camera set up and an audio set up. And then we had Zoom set up so that I could watch the performances and Al could listen. And then they uploaded all their videos and audio files. And then we did all the editing after. So
yeah, this was filmed in 2021. And if everybody remembers what life was like in 2021, we were all getting pretty used to Zoom, weren't we?
Yeah, that's for sure. So
the fact that this was done, I mean, this was my first experience on a film set, and the film set was my own room here. So the fact that we had that challenge of, well, we don't have We don't have a set. We don't have a common space and camera crew and lighting and all that. We have distinct remote locations. That was a great challenge.
Yeah. But it just meant the script had to adapt for that. And well, we'll see what you think of it. I'm going to briefly bring on Brady Power and Taylor Szabo, just so you can see them and know that they're here, but we will have a more in-depth conversation once the movie is done. You still there, Brady? Or he might have gone, because he's got all kinds of family people that are in another room of the house, all excited to watch. There he is. There he is. This is essentially the voice and the face of Leroy Silk.
Hey, everybody.
Cool. All right. Shall we go to the movie and then we can talk more about it? What do you think, Al?
I think we shall. Let me cue it up here.
We'll turn off our cameras and our mics, and you should be able to get a nice, pristine view of the movie, and then we'll be back after.
There, I found the movie. Here we go, folks.
Moon over mountains, lighting up the road she's driving on. Leading her further west than she's ever gone. By this time tomorrow she'll find everything she's ever wanted, everything she'll ever need. The future. Everything she's ever wanted, and everything she's ever need. Future is at her fingertips. Ocean washes over her feet. In California, in California, California.
All right. Well, thank you, Rainbow Bear 7, for requesting that moldy Goldie. I sure am happy that that reminds you of your first date with your now husband. Old Leroy hasn't had a first date in a very long time. And Lord knows I haven't had many second. So cheers to you, finding love. I'm glad I could be just a tiny part of that. I also wanted to address a request from Clarina Contessa. I'm sorry, I just can't seem to find that song you're asking about. I don't know. I will open up a few dusty boxes of demos and check my recordings, but it's just not ringing a bell, so my apologies. I also want to take this time to thank all my subscribers and just let you know that hard-earned cash is really going a long way. Shea Silky. It's keeping the lights on and keeping my hot showers running. So thanks for believing in me, even though it's sometimes hard to believe in myself. Well, signing off now, and I will see you on Saturday, as usual, 1 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. Until then, keep it silky, everybody.
My pockets are stuffed with the questions. My eyes, they just drink it all down. I'm a blank page ready for a story to come pouring out. Yes, I'm young and maybe I'm senseless, 'cause I haven't done anything chew me up. Well, come on, come and get me. 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 All right. Thank you so much, Insect Army 5, for that request. I haven't played that one in about 6 months, so bang on. Loved it. Clarina Contessa, hey, how are you? Welcome back. No, I haven't found that tune yet. It's still drawing a blank for me. Galpal 7777. No, I swear. I'm not holding out on you guys. You're my fans, for Pete's sake. Why would I do that? Jesus. Oh, come on, guys. I am working on new stuff. It's a process. It takes some time, and realistically, I'm having a hard time keeping everybody happy. But you know what? I will promise this. When I have new stuff ready, I'm going to play it for you first. You can see it, you can hear it, and I think everybody will be pretty excited about it. You've earned that right. Hell, you're paying for that right. Well, let's finish up on a positive note. I'll take one more request before the stream is over. Ooh. Girl Next Door. Holy jumping. Okay, I have not played this song, admittedly, in a few years, so we're going to see how things go. Bear with me. Maybe crack a beer or pour some more wine, and let's take this musical journey together. I gotta remember. Is that how it goes? Yeah, that sounds about right. Jane, she lived 3 houses down the street. Oh, Jane, she left before I could sweep her off her feet. I'm sure she got herself a nice new place. Maybe she walks a dog, meets a boy who lives 3 houses away. She's the girl next door. She's the girl next door, but not next door to me. Clarina Contessa, hi, how are you? Nice to see you, and welcome to your private chat.
Thanks. Hi. It's actually just Clarina.
Clarina, beautiful. Okay. So I'm noticing a bit of an accent. Where do you call home?
It's Naples, Italy.
Italy. Excellent. Yeah. I'm trying to think now. We toured the UK a few times. Never made it to Italy. I am flattered, however, that you think this old bag of bones can compete with some of those Euro pop stars. Where would you have heard my music at first?
Actually, I saw one of your last shows in 2011 in Chicago.
Okay. Chicago. Yeah. Oh, yeah, those were some hazy days for old Leroy. I can't really remember that show in particular. My star was sort of falling, if you know what I mean. Although management had me touring and promoting quite heavily. So how'd you end up in Chicago at that show?
Yeah, I was working on a visa as an au pair. And my boyfriend then was a huge fan. And he introduced me to your music. Then my visa ran out and I had to come back home. But but your songs, they're just as important to me now as ever.
Oh, it's really great to hear.
So I know I only have a few minutes. Can you tell me anything about Find a Way?
Find a Way. Yeah. I am just drawing a blank, Clarina. I checked my catalog and I just can't find it. You are very persistent. I have to give you that.
Yeah.
What is it with you and this damn missing song?
This might sound a bit weird coming from like a complete stranger, but your music really speaks to me. When I saw you play live, I didn't know it then, but things were falling apart with my boyfriend, and he was, well, my first love. That song went right into my soul, and it helped me keep my shit together.
Well, you know, an unfortunate situation, obviously, but I'm happy that in some small part I could kind of help you get through that.
Yeah. So, what happened? I don't understand. Why did you stop writing new songs?
It's an artist thing, Clarina. It's very difficult to explain. You know, sometimes the well just runs dry.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Find a Way was the greatest song I've heard you play, and it was better than anything you had done before.
See, now I know you're mixed up because that song does not exist in my catalog. So, tell you what, let's just call it Missing Pronounced Dead, okay?
Okay. Can I play you something?
Sure, I guess.
Okay.
Okay, Leroy, the guitar sounds great. Can we check vocals too?
I've forgotten what's so wrong and what's right.
What the hell?
Once was a king, now it's gone, and I feel like I lost all control over anything.
This is unbelievable.
Find a Way.
I know,
or that's what I've been calling it anyway.
Find a way, yeah, find a way. I'm gonna do more with the
Where did you
days
get
left
this?
before me. Yeah,
Chicago
find a
show,
way.
May 2011.
Find a way.
Yeah. Well, my soon-to-be ex-boyfriend, he worked
How's that
your
sound, guys?
soundboard.
Sounds great.
Are we good? This is unbelievable.
He recorded it. I guess, I don't know, it was a goodbye gift for me or a consolation prize.
Wow.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah, I can hear that. Oh, man. Listen, Clarina, this is wow. That's interesting to hear. I was going through some really tough stuff, and there was a lot of pressure from the producers and my management team to keep the label happy. That song came from my heart. I didn't think anyone would ever hear that, and I didn't think management wanted to hear it. I honestly didn't think the fans would want to hear it either, but it was so different, and I just wanted to try something new. Shit. I felt so trapped, and I just gave up. I can't believe you have this.
Yeah, I get that.
Shit, I feel like such an ass. Clarina, I can't believe it. I'm so sorry.
This is a beautiful song. Leroy Silk, I still believe you have the talent. I love this. And every time I hear this song, I believe.
Would you send me a copy of this?
I would love to.
Thank you so much. Why'd you wait so long to send me this?
I was waiting for you to release it. And, well, I only just discovered about this artistry subscription thing and found out that I could contact you directly.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm happy to help. Thank you for the video chat.
No problem. No problem at all. It was great talking to you.
Me too. Thanks.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Fuck. Hey everybody. Me again. Welcome back to the stream. Very happy to see everybody. I'm looking down in the chat bar and I see some familiar screen names, so it's good to see everybody. A couple of new faces too, so thank you very much. You know, you guys mean so much to me, and I just want to say thank you for all the support. I'm so glad that you like my old songs. But I have to be honest, I've been avoiding playing some new stuff. I've really been holding back. My head's just not where it was when I started this whole journey, and I just want to get back to that space. I just think of my albums and the way that all that fell into place. It took about a decade to write and release my first one. Second one came pretty easy, but it was, truth be told, a repeat of the first. I toured and released my third, fourth, and fifth albums. Played the shit out of some hits. Had a lot of fun, and I got to meet all of you, so it wasn't all that bad. I started to write new songs, and they just were different. They sounded different, and I felt different about them. I was scared. I didn't think the label would like them, and I really didn't think that my fans would either. So I basically just put that all to a stop. That was until one loyal fan, Clarina Contessa, that's you, basically rekindled this fire that's been burning in my soul for so long. From the very beginning when I first picked up a guitar and wanted to do this for a living. I think that all you fans have been kind of stoking those embers, and I'm ready to get that fire roaring again. So that being said, I do have some new material, and I got to just completely flush my head of the bullshit. I got to stop doubting myself. I have to stop worrying about the label. I have to stop thinking that I'm going to sell out. This is it. This is me. So thanks for being so patient with me. I think it's time that we listen to a new song. You've earned it. You're paying for it. You're here right now. So without further ado, brand new material for all you silky lovers out there. This one's called Back to Me. Some of us call it Find a Way. Enjoy.
Look at my smile in any photograph. After a while it gets harder to laugh at how quickly I learned just to turn it off like a light. Who is that man on the screen? Is this the boy you always dreamed you Well, how long can any boy hide in plain sight? Nobody pushed me to live like this. Nobody's pulling me out. So if God is my witness, I swear I will fix this. I'll find a way. I'll find a way. I've got to do more with the days left before me. I'll find a way. I'll find a way back to me. Nobody pushed me to live like this, and nobody is pulling me out. So as God is my witness, I swear I will fix this. I'll find a way. Yeah, I'll find a way. I'm done waging war with those days left before me. I'll find a way. Yeah, I'll find a way back to me. Back to me. Back to me.
Well, there it is. After many, many years in the making, that's Leroy Silk Unmuted. I'm so glad and hope that most of you got to see that. Allister, do you want to join me? Do you know?
I'm back. I'm back. I was here all along.
Yeah. Do you know if people could see that on your household, in your household?
Not in my household. So, you know,
Okay.
in fact, we're having a viewing party together. There are some people here off camera.
Great. This has been recorded. It will play back on the Facebook page. I'll see if there's a way to load that to the event page. That might help too. But that's what it is. Let's talk about the movie a bit. For those of us that did see it, you can put questions if you want in the chat on my page where I was playing it live, or it is still playing live. I'm just going to say this. So I submitted this to 16 film festivals and this is what happens with a short film, right? You don't really have a lot of places for it to be seen. Film festivals are the primary medium. There are, of course, thousands of them around the world, and every one of them gets hundreds or thousands of submissions. So I don't know why it was rejected from every single one of them. They don't give you feedback. I just know that over the course of a year and a bit, you have to wait for each festival to decline. And so that's why it's been a while since we actually could release it. And then I have to thank my sister-in-law, Susan, who had the idea of, well, why don't you play it live on Facebook or on the internet? Because I was just going to put it up on YouTube. And I thought, okay, let's make an event out of it. And so we did, to a varying degree of success, but I think it was a much more exciting way to release it than to just throw it up on YouTube and wait for people to put comments and thumbs up and whatever. So that's kind of the history of how it's here, and it will be available on YouTube after 2 p.m. Eastern today for you to share just the movie, and then we will also put some of this Q&A up as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Shall we bring Brady and Taylor back on too?
Yes.
Brady Power, Taylor Szabo, come on in. All right.
Hey, how's
Brady,
it going?
was your family able to see it?
Unfortunately not on the Facebook event. So I ran to the other area of the house and we screened it together. So everybody was pretty excited to see it. So we did get to see it in some respect.
That's good. That's a relief. And what did they think?
I think they really enjoyed it. They loved the music, and it's rave reviews so far. Okay,
good. And it's your first time seeing it, correct?
Yes, it is. I was anticipating this for the last few years, so I really enjoyed it.
Great. Excellent. And Taylor helped with the graphics. You also were instrumental in, this is the weird thing about filmmaking, is you write a script and then you shoot the movie, usually based on the script, and things change. And then in the editing, it's rediscovered again. And Taylor actually saw a rough cut and he suggested I delete an entire scene. He thought it was redundant. And I was like, it's hard. It's really hard when you've put that much effort in to take something away. But the storytelling has to be the primary reason for what you want to accomplish. And that's why I thought, yeah, it was another scene of Leroy giving a private video to Clarina. But it didn't really say anything different or new that we didn't hear. It was just him privately telling her, okay, yeah, I still can't find that material. I looked through my archives and whatever. So it was like Taylor was able to see it objectively and say, oh, that information's already there. This is redundant. And I was like, damn, okay, out it came. So thank you, Taylor. All right, let's, I don't know, there's so much to talk about the music, and I want to talk to Brady as well about the process of creating Leroy Silk. But let's go so we'll go to the music a bit here, to Allister, because you've been instrumental in helping create the persona of Leroy in a musical form. So how did you, and oh yeah, that's right, I have to acknowledge the people who are not on here that contributed to it. So Goldie Oral played Clarina. Amazing actress, but she had a baby recently, and she actually was in Turkey, Istanbul, Turkey, when she filmed her scenes. Brady, you are in?
I'm currently in South Porcupine, Ontario, so not as exotic as Istanbul, but very, very similar.
Yeah, and that's where you were when you filmed your scenes as well.
Yeah.
And Al lives in?
I'm in Wellesley, Ontario.
Right.
I think it's even smaller than South Porcupine.
And I'm in Guelph, Ontario, as is Taylor. And so all of us, where I am now sitting is exactly where I sat to direct this movie. So we all were in our respective spots. And then Rhys Evanescen, a longtime collaborator, filmmaking collaborator and good friend of mine, helped a lot with the titles and rejigging the openings, that sequence that just has sort of titles and some music to set the context of Leroy's history. And that's it. Oh yeah, and then I hired somebody to do some of the graphic design on Fiverr.com. So that's it for the whole cast and crew.
Except my co-writer.
Oh, that's right. That's where I was going. That's right.
Yeah, who unfortunately is quite ill today. So so this one's for you, Sean.
Sean Bertram, yeah. So Sean is Al's son. Mm-hmm. And an accomplished songwriter and musician himself. Had you ever written together? Because you co-wrote for this project.
Yes, we had written together when he was a mid-teenager. You know, we wrote not for anything serious. It was, we were together looking at, well, let's try this songwriting challenge, you know, write for, as if you're pitching to a television commercial. And we put our heads in that space and we wrote together and had so much fun writing together. Co-writing is so much fun, you know, between any two writers, but when it means I get to spend time with my son as well, that's a bonus. That's the cherry on top.
Yeah.
So when you and I first talked about Leroy Silk, and I mean, again, originally I was looking at the script for the feature film, and then you rewrote it, and it ended up in this form. We talked about what kind of music, how many songs we needed, and what they would represent. And you suggested, you know, would Sean like to write some of this? Would you like to write some of this? And Sean and I thought, let's just try it together. Let's take a crack at this together. So we knew how many songs we wanted. And those songs were to represent early Leroy Silk and the latest from Leroy Silk and everything in between. So we sent you, you'll remember, we sent you these 20-second clips of just Sean jamming on guitar. So, how about this groove? Does this sound like Leroy Silk? How about this? Does this sound like Leroy Silk? And we wanted your ear to react to these little snippets and say, yeah, that one definitely sounds like Leroy Silk. This one, not so much. And we ended up with a handful. And then Sean and I had the task of listening to those and saying, well, what does the full song sound like? And what would Leroy write? And at this point, I think I was sending you all sorts of clarifying questions to understand Leroy's character. What was childhood like for Leroy? And, what were his big disappointments in life and his big victories in life? And what does he like to eat? I was asking you all sorts of crazy questions that I'm sure the process was very much like an actor trying to get inside the skin of the character that they're going to portray on film. I was trying to get into the skin of Leroy Silk to imagine what kind of stuff would he write and what kind of stuff wouldn't he write.
Yeah.
So it was a whole lot of fun. And you listen to the songs, California and Come and Get Me were definitely early on in the Leroy Silk catalog.
Yeah.
And we think the lyrics reflect that.
And then you had to write, now what would he write now after 9 years of whatever, discomfort, pain, growth? What's he going to write? Even though we got a clue of it in that bootleg there.
Yes. Yeah. It was, our mission was to go for, okay, now he's willing to be vulnerable. He's willing to talk about how he actually feels. Whereas in the early songs, he'd be writing stories about characters, not himself. Or in the case of Come and Get Me, he'd be saying, yeah, I'm ready. I want to fight. Come and get me. That young, powerful preparedness for life and maybe naivete.
Cool. Yeah. All right, Brady. Actually, I got a question, and it kind of comes in line with what I would have asked you anyway. Jay's asking, how closely did the songs and backstory match your idea of who Leroy Silk was?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I sort of approached the character himself in terms of what I did as a musician and my hopes and dreams and those types of things that I was looking to achieve as a musician. I started really playing music in my 20s. I started later than a lot of people would, and I credit my best friend Wayne Stack for being very patient with me and showing me some chords and playing some music with me. Then it sort of took off. I've always loved music, but that being said, we started a band very quickly, as a lot of bands start, and then you grind it out. As I know you are musicians as well. You play some pretty interesting venues, and you sometimes play, a festival to 6 or 7 people, or you're at an old hall in a very small town, and varying degrees of interest in the music that you're making. More interest sometimes in the bar, but it's just kind of I wanted to grab some elements from my own experience to insert into this character. So I hope that I don't come across in my real life as a washed up musician, but I sort of tried to look at those elements and put them into my character of Leroy.
Cool. Yeah, and I'll thank Al for this idea too, that when we looked at casting, Al said they need to be an actor first and a musician second. But that's still a really peculiar combination, right? Because there's lots of musicians I could think of that I thought, oh, I'd love to have this musician be Leroy Silk, this Danny Michel, or maybe we could ask Andy Stachansky or some of these actual. But then would they have the chops to act? But Brady had already experience as an actor, so that actually, was more important. The fact that he could play guitar and was an accomplished musician, that was necessary as well. But it was like, okay, I was confident Brady was likely to be the right one. And before we met, which was of course over Zoom, Brady and I have we've never been in the same room together, let alone the same city, I don't think.
This is true. Probably not in the same city at the same time. And but I do feel like I know you guys pretty well, just based on all of the time we spent virtually together. Yeah. And I just think, I mean, not to jump into your answer, but things were really comfortable right off the hop. And I think we just had a very similar perspective on what you wanted to do with the project. You know, there was the directing piece for you, Peter, and Al with the music. And I just thought I tried to, you know, to try to bring what I could to the table. And it really was organic. And like I said, it was very comfortable.
Cool. I'm just going to go back to a question that came in about the inspiration. So Steve, you asked what was the inspiration for the film. So the inspiration was lots of Canadian singer-songwriters who are not necessarily household names. They at least not beyond their community or Canada to some degree. I'm going to throw their names out because I saw Danny Michel has a new album that he's just mixing. So I'm always going to want to sing his praises. He's probably up to what, 14 or 15 albums. And Andy Stachansky, who has kind of retired. He did something last year, but he did like 2 Knock It Out of the Park albums. He did an earlier one, but he just, like, one of his albums is one of my Desert Island albums. 5 Star Motel would be one of my top 10 all-time favorite albums. And who the heck knows him, right? I mean, he did some work he played drums for the Indigo Girls and blah, 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 blah. Chantal Kreviazuk has had much more success, fortunately, but she's an amazing singer-songwriter. Luc Doucet blew me away before he was in Whitehorse, as well as his wife, Melissa McClellan. So all these and I mean, I can list them, and I had a bunch of them in the documentary as well. I was trying to represent different provinces. So that was the inspiration, is why are all these amazing singer-songwriters not being known, not getting heard? And what would that be like for them as a singer-songwriter, as a musician, to keep cranking out amazing quality music and not achieving a level of fame? Was that important to them? Was that not important? Whatever. So that was the inspiration. Taylor, let's talk a bit about the graphics, because there's a couple of layers here of how we didn't want to violate any copyrights. So it doesn't say Zoom, right? We didn't use Patreon. Patreon is a quite popular subscription channel for artists to use to generate some income and perform or deliver material. So I went to Taylor and I said, I need to create a fictional interface and a fictional space for Leroy to perform with his fans. So what did you consider, Taylor, when I kind of threw it at you and I said, give me some ideas for what the interface and the logo would look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, for any good design, right, you always want to go to existing influences, especially for something like this, where you're wanting to make it seem like it's a real service. So first it was research, right? Some of it is just my own knowledge from the internet. Some of it was additional research going, all right, what streaming services are there? What of these like fan sites, the Patreon style where people can subscribe, and so I started to look at that, and I started to look at, for logos, I started to look at general music logos, and then of course it was just kind of, all right, we know that I was given the name artistry, and so then it was, all right, well, how do we take this fictional name and turn it into something that I want it to look kind of familiar, like it was, okay, this is actually an existing thing, but at the same time completely different.
Cool. Great. Yeah. And that's part of the layers and texture that I think helped people think it's real. I mean, I want to think that one of the reasons why festivals might have turned it down is they just thought we turned record on Zoom and Patreon, and they didn't even realize that this was all fictional, fabricated in every layer. Like all the chat was all scripted and then had to be rendered into this little chat thing and stream at the right timing to coordinate. Anyways, all these layers here to create a fictional world, but make it seem believable and real. So good job, Taylor.
Thank you.
I've got to say, every time I watch the film, I take great enjoyment out of watching the comments, reading the comments coming in there. Some of them are hilarious, but they do seem like I'm live inside a TikTok or a chat room or what have you, with some very dispersed group of people that are coming at this from a very different angle. There are the you'll know off the top of your head, Peter. There are the ones that just want to hit on Leroy, and then there are the ones that remember his back catalog, and it's great. It's great to see their characters coming through in the chat.
Yeah. And even the number of viewers changes through the movie, so that by the end, actually the viewer count is higher. Yeah. And you've got new people to be there for his revealing new music.
Yeah. And it's funny that you said it could give the appearance of us having just recorded a Zoom meeting, but in reality, we went for recording at the highest possible quality we could, so that we could later add glitches and add distortion and add blurriness to simulate that experience of being online. But the last thing we would have wanted was to have a great performance sacrificed because somebody's Zoom connection froze.
Yeah. Yeah, and that kind of is. I see that Reese is actually online. Sorry, you're not a part of us here, Reese. Reese was also. I'll just give him some credit for the opening sequence. There had video of and pictures of Leroy's album covers. So I created all these album covers, fictional album covers, and there was mock concert footage of him playing, which was. Shall I tell them who it really was?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Anyways, and there was all these interspersed images and video with the text. And then Reese, who took over handling a lot of the text, the titles at the beginning and the end credits, and did a beautiful job of just adding more polish. And he said, you know what? He also gave me all kinds of great advice on just the film structure and the editing and stuff, because that's how he and I work. But he said, I think you should pull out all those videos and images and just do straight text. It feels more professional. It's more close to what real documentaries often do when they're accounting a musician's history or any artist's history. And that was another one of those they talk about kill your darlings or kill your babies. It's just like, but I put all this effort into these pictures and videos, and it was just like, but we got to get to the meat of the story as fast as possible. And that helped get us to see Brady do his thing versus me showing a bunch of images.
Mm-hmm. I honestly don't remember whose idea it was when we put together the opening sequence. And California, the song California, the studio version of California is playing in the background. But at the point where the opening narration says, and this is the point where Leroy stopped performing live, we got to the point in the song California where I sing, where Brady sings, the future, and it cut right there because there's no more future. So I forget whose idea it was, but I loved how it was. It mine?
Yeah, it was your idea. Yeah.
Okay, I would have given credit to anybody, but I love the effect of it. It was everything working in harmony there together.
Yeah, the future, and it echoes, it just diminishes and disappears. Yeah.
So, and I'll say we had so much fun recording those tunes as well.
Because, talk about that, sure.
A lot of this evolved over time. Initially, we hadn't even imagined that we would be doing sort of release quality versions of these songs. Well, we got to a point where you and I talked about, wouldn't it be great if we got to hear one of his early records as that narration is telling his history? So we thought, oh, let's record one of these songs. And through the wonders of technology, we were able to do it so that, Sean and I were playing all the instruments, but then Brady logged in from, remotely and sang a live session. So that, again, all the voices you're hearing in the film, that's all Brady. But it was like he was with us in the studio, and we turned out something that sounds like his radio hit from 2004 or whatever the year was for California.
Right.
And then no sooner had we done that than you and I said, well, I guess we have to do it for the end of the movie as well. We have to come up with the radio version of Back to Me. So that was great fun doing that remotely with you, Brady.
And even you had to teach him too. Like what was that like, Brady? When now you have to play these live on camera, songs that you did not write, but here, how did that process work?
Well, so that was a little nerve-wracking, I have to admit. So when I ended up you had let me know that I got the part, Allister and you and I were in sort of a group email moving forward. And obviously, one of the emails was like, hey, here are 5 songs you have to learn, and we're going to start recording at the end of the week. And so I love playing music, but without any reference, because these were all songs that Al and Sean wrote, I couldn't go on the internet and find a version of it or find the chords. I was given the chords, but how do you, it's such an interesting problem to have, is to try to conceptualize what the song is supposed to sound like when the only 2 people that know what the song is supposed to sound like are the 2 guys that wrote it, whenever they wrote it. So that was tough. And I have to admit, you 2 were really great with me and mentored me through some of the little hiccups that I had while we were filming, because there were some songs where I flat out was just like, I'm never going to get this. I can't figure this out. And you both were I have to give you props. You were so supportive, saying, you got this. You're going to take care of it. Take a deep breath, walk away from the camera, come back. And then I kind of pump myself up and get it done. But that initially was interesting and a challenge. And then with the studio that I set up, it was in my bedroom. And I like more than once, Al had to cut a song and say, is that your dog in the background? And I'd say, no, that's a neighborhood dog, another yard away, but he could still pick it up on the mic. So I was blown away at how great the quality was for these recordings. And it really did sound like we were in the studio together, and you'd never be able to tell the difference. So hats off to you, Al, absolutely, with the music, and Sean. And man, what a whirlwind. It was so much fun too, because we recorded over, and I don't know if you were going to get to that, Peter, but we recorded over the span of from a Friday doing some tech stuff to Sunday. And it was, long days, fun days, but it was a grind. And then Al and I got together afterwards for 2 or 3 days, separate days, where we did the recording for a few hours at a time, just to make sure we nailed everything that we wanted for those songs, the studio songs. So it was awesome. And what a great challenge. And just for me, it was nice to challenge myself to do some acting and singing and playing at the same time. You're doing all 3 of those things at once. But admittedly, the team, behind the camera, you guys were what got it done, because I needed some pep talks here and there before our nightly beer, our nightcap that we'd have after the cameras stopped rolling. So it was great.
Yeah. Craft services was your fridge and your fridge and my fridge.
That's right.
Exactly. A couple of cheese strings and a drink. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah. But honestly, Brady, don't sell yourself short, because not only did you learn these songs and you were performing them for your patrons on the live stream, but you went all the way to showing us that you were kind of phoning it in on some of these songs. You were like, oh, they're asking for this one again.
Like Leroy's phoning it in.
Yeah, Leroy was phoning it. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I get you.
So that and that comes through in the film. So that makes me smile too.
And then Al was still not satisfied and said, "Oh, if we're going to release these two, I might as well do a studio version of the other ones that for which there was only those whatever a couple of verses and a couple of fragments written for what Brady had to do in the film." And you're like, "Oh, let's create a whole song around these and record and produce those and release an EP now with 4 full-length songs from the movie."
That's right, because Girl Next Door and Come and Get Me, they only get the acoustic 1 guitar, 1 vocal treatment in the film, and we didn't have a need to demonstrate that they actually went in the studio for those songs. But you're right. When Peter, you and I talked about what is this going to look like at the end of the day when the film is finished, and what are we going to do with these studio versions of California and Back to Me? I guess we should release them. So wouldn't it be great if we had studio versions of Come and Get Me and Girl Next Door? So Sean and I talked about this. Sean's in England, by the way. So he was working in his studio in England, and I'm working here in Wellesley. So he was really keen on doing a studio version of Girl Next Door. And we decided that it would be really fun, rather than calling you up, Brady, and saying, "Okay, you want to sing some more so that we have your voice on all 4 of these songs?" We thought, let's do something a little different so that on Girl Next Door and on Come and Get Me, you can hear a little bit of the songwriters behind it. So he produced Girl Next Door in England and sang on it. And then I did Come and Get Me. Of course, I had a lot of Sean's help on Come and Get Me because he's my guitar player. So so he also did all the guitars for Come and Get Me.
Yeah. So there we go. So now if you go to, it's on several platforms. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music.
It's everywhere you can consume music. Yeah.
Yeah. You can get the 4 full, the studio songs and the little bootleg recording.
A little bootleg recording, yes.
Of Find a Way.
Yes. And in fact, when Brady and I got together to do the vocals, and he sang not only the studio version of Back to Me, but the bootleg version, we purposely, we kind of backtracked on the songwriting for Back to Me, so that on the Chicago 2011 bootleg, it's as if he hadn't even finished writing the song. Some of the lyrics are slightly different, and it doesn't have a pre-chorus. So, we just had our behind the scenes fun doing that.
Yeah. So the music's live. The movie is now available on YouTube. For you that couldn't see it, or you want to share it with people that tried to catch this live event and our technical challenges interfered with that. We'll put that in the I can put that in the comments, or we can put it, we'll put that on Facebook here. We'll give you a link to that. Reese had a question here. What was one of the most challenging aspects of making this film? Well, the first one was getting the film made, period, after 15 years or whatever. It doesn't feel like it anymore, but I know that one of the biggest challenges was how we're going to do this technically. Al talked about it a bit. If we're committed to Zoom, we are vulnerable to all kinds of internet glitches and things that aren't necessarily wanted or intentional. So how do we remotely capture audio and video in a clean, high quality way with not knowing necessarily? And it turned out coincidentally, both Brady and Goldie had MacBooks. So they both used I lost, what is it? Photo? No, what's the app? The camera.
Photo booth, I think.
Photo booth. Yeah, use photo booth to capture the video because you could get it at full HD, high def resolution. And then they had GarageBand recording audio separately. So they each had a separate input for the microphone to the audio. And then they had their phone with Zoom set up so they could look at each other, and I had Zoom and Al had Zoom, so we could watch their performances, but they were always like looking a little off camera because they were looking at their computer we were looking a little off camera, but we could see the performance and hear what was going on. So figuring all those layers of technology out, and then we're going to load it all and hope that, you know, we can get it all into the cloud and it can all come down fine and there won't be any, you know, bits and bytes of damage in the files and such. There was a lot of risk there, but it actually came together way quicker and easier once we sort of worked out the logistics.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've gone over time with our technical challenges, but is there anything else we didn't get a chance to talk to Sean or Goldie? Let's see if there was anything else I had here.
I will echo a comment from the chat here. My friend Jay Collins says, Brady, he totally believed you as Leroy Silk. You are Leroy Silk.
Oh, that's really nice to hear. I hope that means I did my job.
Yeah, it definitely does. We did have a one screening here in Guelph with, I'm a member of Ed Video Media Arts Center. They had a members screening night, and I got to show Leroy Silk in front of a small audience. And they also were totally convinced that both you and Goldie were like real, like that Leroy was real and Clarina was real, that we just sort of captured a real conversation and real performances. They did not in any way see a layer of artifice or in that. So I mean, I'll forever be grateful. You are Leroy Silk to me now, Brady, and always will be.
That is high praise. Thank you. And I have to echo that. I mean, it was just so easy to work with your team. So it was a lot of fun. I don't know. If it's all this fun, sign me up, right? Like it's just it was lightning in a bottle for sure. So
cool. Yeah. I don't know what else, Al. Anything else?
I have nothing else other than to, you know, continue to share my love and admiration for these people that we got to work with.
Yeah.
This was so much fun. I would do it again.
Yeah, cool. And if everybody please, especially listen to the music, hear the full versions of the songs. It's so much fun to hear them and to see, like, on Spotify. Is it Spotify where it shows Brady Power as the artist?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's it for now. Thank you very much for those of you that could join us. And we look forward to seeing you again. And please share the music and the movie with your friends and family.
Thanks, everyone.
See ya.
Take care.